All right, hopefully we're a little bit more comfortable with scientific notation and what it means. I'm going to revisit actually the number of carbon atoms in the Hope Diamond and how much each atom weighs and say, well, if I know how many things there are inside of the diamond in this case, okay, so how many atoms of carbon there are inside the diamond, and I know how much each of them weighs, can I find the total mass? Well, that's kind of like saying, okay, there's 14 people on a boat and each person weighs 120 pounds. Well, how much does like the total population on the boat weigh? And you would just multiply the two. Same idea goes here. Okay. The big reason why I wanted to show you all this is to practice plugging it into your calculator. Okay, because this is where people mess up a lot. Okay. I know I'm going to multiply these two numbers and say 4.6 times 10 to the 23 atoms. And we're actually going to learn dimensional analysis here in a second and see how the units work. Okay, all right, and then we know that each one weighs 2 times 10 to the negative 23 grams. And I'm going to say there's that many grams per carbon atom. Okay, so I'm multiplying these two numbers. And the thing is, everybody tries to plug in times, 1, 0, caret, 23. Do not do that. Your calculator does not always understand what you mean and will try to mess things up. So I'm going to show you guys that all calculator manufacturers that deal with exponents and stuff have a nice fancy function that's meant specifically for plugging in numbers that are in scientific notation. Okay, I showed pictures of the buttons that you'll need. Okay, most calculators, will have an actual button itself that says EE, or it will say EXP for exponent. This calculator doesn't have that. Instead, and this is something that's actually a really common thing, it's got EE in the green script above this x to the negative 1. Sometimes it's above the comma on like graphing calculators. And I'm just going to hit second. It's got a big old green color there to tell me that any time that I hit second, it's going to do whatever that green symbol is. Okay, and that EE or EXP or times 10 to the x button that you see on your calculator, I read that out loud in my head as times 10 to the. Okay, so on the slides, I told you that instead of writing or typing in 4.6 times 10 to the 23, instead you would write 4.6, hit the EE function, because that means times 10, so 4.6 times 10 to the 23. Okay, and you also need to use parentheses. Okay. If I don't use parentheses, it's going to say, or think I'm doing 4.6 times 10 to the power of 23 times 2, where that power is raised to the power of negative 23, and so your math kind of messes up. So every single number in scientific notation, I don't care how smart your calculator is, it's smarter of you to always use parentheses. So I'm going to use this kind of notation or number punching order, I guess, for my first number, the number of carbon atoms. This one here, instead of 2 times 10 to the negative 23, I'm going to write 2. That's read as times 10 to the negative sign 23. Okay, so let's see what that looks like whenever we plug it in. I'm going to hold that up so you can see it. All right. So I'm always going to start by putting my parenthesis. All right, and always make sure that you hit it. I'm going to put 4.6 for my coefficient. So you always, in this case, do your coefficient. Get that times 10 to the, however you need to do that. So in this case, second, to where I get that. Now you notice the button itself says EE on the screen. It will just say E. That's common for all sorts of calculators. Don't ask me why, but you don't need to put 2 E's there. You hit the button with 2 E's if that's the function your calculator has. Okay, but coefficient times 10 to the, and put your exponent. So in this case, my exponent is positive 23. Okay, close your parentheses. Now you could do multiply, right, and start a new set of parentheses, but in math, 2 parentheses next to each other, or 2 sets of things in parentheses next to each other, that implies that they're being multiplied anyways. Okay, so just still find that product. Either way, I'm just going to go ahead and do that just to be more clear for those of you who need that extra. Okay, so here I'm going to start my parentheses, and I'm going to put my coefficient, which is 2. Instead of times 10 to the, I'm going to use that exponent function, so second, where it says E, and now my exponent is negative 23, so I'm going to use the negative sign, not the minus sign. You'll get an error if you use minus. You've got to use that negative sign. Okay, negative, not 32, 23. Close your parentheses. All right, let's look back at how these numbers look in the calculator. 4.6 times 10 to the 23rd. And it's multiplied by 2 times 10 to the negative 23rd. Okay, and that's what I have here. Once you have it typed in correctly, hit enter, and you should get 9.2. All right, now it's a naked number, and we'll see a more convenient way of keeping up with these. But if I know I've got that many atoms and each atom has that mass, that means that when I get the product of them, I'm not talking about atoms anymore. Now I'm just talking about that mass in grams. So the Hope diamond weighs like 9.2 grams. It's pretty heavy for a diamond. I wish my diamond weighed 9.2 grams. That'd be pretty cool.